Hello and welcome back to everyone that's tuned in to the American Ultra Stock channel. Thank you so much for being here. First of all, I'll hold my hands up. My apologies for the lack of uploads recently. My life has been a little bit busy, but straight to the business. We're here back with a video, and it's a really important one covering what we love the most, the USMNT. This channel revolves around the national team, which unfortunately time and time again kind of lets us down in a few ways, but hey, let's scratch over that first experience we had with the camp that Poch was at the helm. He had to look at some guys, the roster selection. Well, there were some guys that really, I don't know if he knew the roster too much, but he had quite a while now to look and learn about our depth. He saw some guys in action. Straight to the point, we're going to give our prediction for the roster, and we're going to be discussing about a few players who we thought might miss out and we would have liked to see stick around. So straight in goal, I'm going to start right here with my prediction. And I'll ask you right away if you think if matches yours. Turner, Schulte, and Horvath. I don't think he's going to bring 4 goalkeepers this time. Do you agree with me, Braden?
Yeah, I actually have the exact same 3. Obviously, last camp it was the 4, adding in Zach Steffen. I just don't get the obsession with Zach Steffen. I mean, I've been adamant that he's one of the worst goalkeepers in MLS all season. If you guys watched the Galaxy versus Colorado Rapids playoff match tonight as we record this, yesterday as it comes out, you'll just see absolutely horrendous mistake from him. You can't be doing that on the biggest of stages. I hope he doesn't get called up. I do have the worry that because he got hurt in the last camp, Poch might want to call him up to see him in training a little bit more. So I wouldn't be surprised if he is called up. I just hope he's not. But my predicted 3 is the exact same as yours. I think it's going to be pretty straightforward.
Well, I'd like to ask you, anyone that you would have liked to see come in for Horvath? Because let's be honest, Horvath doesn't add anything. Do you think there's a name out there that could have gotten a look?
Yeah, I think Diego Cochin deserves a look. I know it's a competitive camp, but let's be honest, the third goalkeeper, which Horvath now isn't going to be getting any minutes on the pitch, barring a disaster. And who's to say Horvath's even better than Cochin at this rate? I mean, the dude's not even playing for Cardiff. Cochin just came back from injury. He was in his first USMNT camp, the last one before Poch took over officially. So he's had a look with the group in the past, but not under Poch. I think this could be the time, now that he's back from injury, get a game or 2 under his belt, come into camp, get a good look under Poch for the first time, because if Poch does stick around long-term for 2030, I think there's a pretty decent chance that Cochin does end up being the number 1 for 2030. Get him integrated as soon as possible. That's what I would like to see personally. I don't think there's really any chance it happens, but just my opinion there. And also, absolutely no to Gabriel Slonina. Absolutely no.
Yeah, we touched on Slonina recently. He's been benched. In case you guys want to see the rationale behind that, you can watch the last video, Stock Watch. But I completely agree with you. I mean, the third goalkeeper, if it's going to be an older guy, has to be a guy with experience. What good experience does Horvath really have? I mean, thanks for that one save and penalties. Good career, but I would like to see a transition on that as well. Speaking of transition, I'd like to hear from you who you think will be selected as maybe the most for sure position, the fullbacks.
Yeah, I think it is pretty straightforward here. Joe Scally and Marlon Fossey are going to be the fullbacks. The only interesting thing I think for the right back position, is will he start Marlon Fossey in one or both of the games? Because he was planning to start him against Panama, hasn't gotten a look at him yet. Yeah, it's competitive. There's a little bit less room for experimentation, but honestly, I think Fossey might actually be a little bit better of a fit than Scally is for the system. Although I will say I do like the fact that if Jedi is bombing forward on the left, Scally can kind of tuck in as a right center back. I do like the tactical flexibility that he has there, but Fossey gives you that and the attacking threat as well. They can kind of interchange. It'll be interesting to see if he gets a look at all at some point in this camp, but I do think he'll be there coming back from injury. And then Anthony Robinson and Christopher Lund, I think, will be on the left. Maybe Christopher Lund gets dropped. It's possible. I just don't think he's gotten enough of a look at the backup left backs we have, or had enough time to convince Nathaniel Brown to switch. So I think Lund will probably keep his spot. And I mean, Jedi, of course, he's our locked-in starter.
Yeah, I think that's the most straightforward one. I spoke about transition earlier, but it's because I forgot about the fullbacks because of how straightforward they are. Here are the ones that I think will be selected for the center back position. And I'm talking about the word transitions because I think we need someone to step up. I think Ring won't be there at 26. Ideally, we need someone better to step up. The guy is really old now. Great player, but I think it's time for someone new. But do we have someone new? Because I'm going right here with Trusty, Ream, Miles, and Mackenzie. Would I like to see Miles? Absolutely not. But I think he will be selected. I think ultimately it's what he's going to go for. Who do you think will step in? Let me know, Braden. Who do you have on your predicted roster right there?
Well, if we see Miles, prepare for some more disasters. I do actually have slightly different. I have Mackenzie. I have Reem. I think those will be the starters. I have Trusty as well, but I also have his teammate at Celtic, Cameron Carter-Vickers. Just came back from injury. Did captain Celtic as well. I mean, that's big. I mean, it's a big club. Honestly, I think you guys who have been watching the channel know that I don't rate Cameron Carter-Vickers at all. However, anything is better than Miles Robinson. Poch did have CCV at Spurs when he was there. Now, he didn't rate him at all, kept sending him on loan to the championship, but I mean, again, it's still better than Miles. I think he'll want a look at him now because he didn't have that in the last camp. He was out injured. I think there's honestly a chance he at least starts one of the games. So I think he'll definitely be in the roster. As for any players that I would maybe like to see called up, I don't even know, man. I mean, obviously, I'd love Andre Chase, but it's looking like he's probably going to be in the Japan squad. So we're probably going to officially lose him. As unfortunate as that is, it's kind of expected given the quality of him right now and how well he's doing for Stuttgart. Outside of that, all of our young, promising talents at center back just are not ready. That's the reality of the situation. Center backs usually take a lot longer to develop. So I think we kind of just have to stick with what we have for now.
Yeah, this is the saddest group, to be honest. Not trying to throw any shade on these guys, but I would love to have a couple of names to throw out there that realistically could come in and try to acclimate to the squad, be the future. But really, I mean, it is a competitive match. And even though it's a bit of a joke competitive match, you have to win. So you get more of these games. We need more camps. And anyways, moving on right here to the midfield position. Now, this one is one that I think can be, it's always the most fun one. I think it's where we have the most depth. And we have a lot of quality players here. Now, I believe he's going to go with Adams, Johnny, Wes, Musa, and Buzio. I put in 5 midfielders there. Do you agree with me, Braden? I don't know. I would like to see how different we have.
Yeah, like you said, I think this is actually a very, very interesting spot. I'm going to go for Tyler Adams, of course, the captain coming back from injury. I am going to go for Johnny Cardoso, again, also coming back from injury. Missed the last camp with a very small one. He was even playing a full 90 for Betis before the camp, but just a precaution made him miss out, which was unfortunate. But I imagine he'll get a look now. Weston McKennie and Gianluca Busio, I think, will stay. And then I think at the 10s, I have Brendan Aronson and Malik Tillman. Those are my 6. I didn't mention Yunus Musa. Don't worry, I have him somewhere else. I'm not leaving him out of the roster as much as I would like to. I think he's going to be there. But those are the midfielders I think that Poch will bring. I think there's a lot of debate here. I mean, even with players like Reina and De La Torre injured, I think there's still a couple others that maybe I think deserve an inclusion. Tanner Tessman deserves to be here. He didn't get enough minutes in the last camp. Paxton Aronson deserves a look at some point. Maybe it's not now. Maybe it's at some point in the future, but he needs a look sooner rather than later. Aiden Morris, I don't know. I mean, he was in the last camp. Maybe some people will think he should get called in. I think Poch might like his work rate at the very least. And then, of course, Leonard Maloney from Heidenheim. I mean, I think he's a player that Poch would love. Maybe he's the answer to our center back position. Who knows?
Yeah, and again, we're going with what we think he's going to call up. I'll give my 2 cents right here on who I would like to see in the camp. Although I have Musa right here because I think USSF is just going to list him as a midfielder. I don't think they would bother switching him to another position, but I would like to see Tanner Tessman here, and I would like to see Paxton. Exactly the 2 names they threw around because Buzio, for as okay as he looked in the beginning, he has come down. It's the usual Buzio, very inconsistent, highs and lows, and I think that now, I don't know. I don't think that there's much to justify him being here, but I think he will be. And Maloney really should be here. I forgot about including him on my center back take, but I think that he really should be here, but I don't think he will. Now moving on to the wingers, and I put /10s because I put my 10s to group with my wingers. So I have Haji Wright, Brendan Aronson, Malik Tillman, and Captain America himself. Now, who do you have in that position, Braden?
Yeah, honestly, I'll hold my hands up. I kind of forgot about Haji Wright completely. I had Christian Pulisic in there, of course. I mentioned my tens, Malik Tillman and Brendan Aronson in the midfielders group. I think it's pretty certain that they'll be there. Although, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know. I think it's tough. Based on form, Tillman should probably be dropped. I think you can make the argument Aronson should probably be dropped too. Musa should probably be dropped. It's tough just based on form with the national team from last camp. For club, obviously, both of them besides Musa are doing some decent things for their clubs. I think Tim Weah will definitely be there as the right winger. Maybe he plays on the left, actually. Switch him and Pulisic a little bit because Pulisic's now playing right wing for Milan. Weah's now playing left wing for Juventus. I think mixing and matching them, especially in the game, could give defenders different looks. So I hope that's something we see experimented with. They'll both be there. I was originally going to have Zendejas there because I actually liked how he fought in the Mexico game. I thought he was one of the only ones who did, but just the overall quality, I'm going to put Haji right there instead, and then Yunus Musa as the other one, as the other right winger. That's where Poch played him in the last camp. I think he'll stay there. Well, unfortunately, I'd honestly like to see Zendejas over him right now. Call me crazy. It's just based on the last camp, what I saw, and Musa being so bad for Milan, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I'm actually okay with the Poch initiative to put Musa out wide. I think he's so erratic on the ball, and he has some qualities, but he does give the ball away quite a lot. If he gives the ball away in the wings, it's better than in the midfield. He's been played as a six before, which is crazy. So, now I forgot to say my hottest take on the midfielders. I would much rather see Paxton Aronson than Brendan Aronson in this camp. Now I know you like Brendan Aronson, but I think we know what we get with him with the main team, and he had a lot of opportunities already. Now his brother, I think, is doing so well, and we don't really know. He never had the chance to play with the A-teamers, and I think he might have a higher ceiling. Why not give him a chance? But I don't think it'll happen. Anyways, moving on right here to the strikers. No, strikers, forwards, I have Pepe, Sargent, and Tim Weah. I listed Weah right here with the forwards just because I couldn't think of another nine. And I think that Weah can sometimes play as a shadow striker. He has emulated that at times on when you watch the game. I mean, obviously on the apps and on the lineups, he's as a winger, but he's playing more in a more advanced role, which I think he can do well. And those are the three that I think he's going to go with. I don't think Vasquez gets another look. What do you think, Braden?
Yeah, based on my roster construction, I believe we both picked 23 players because that's how many you can have for the CONCACAF Nations League. I only have two strikers. It's Ricardo Pepi and Breno Vasquez. I actually think that Poch is going to reward Vasquez for what he showed in only 20 minutes. Yeah, but I mean, he showed more in 20 minutes than Sargent did in what? A lot of time between the two games. I think, did he start both? I can't remember. I think he did. Yeah. So despite only having 20 minutes, I think Vasquez did enough to warrant another look, which is the key thing. Sargent, he got an extended look at him. He knows there's not really much there, at least for the national team. So I actually want to see Vasquez here in place of him, and I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and now that we brought our thoughts on who will be called out, the players that could have gotten a look, I would like to transition to, well, our final take right here, which I think is really interesting. Mentioning Sargent, we mentioned Morris, Aronson as well. There were a lot of guys that got a lot of looks, got a lot of opportunities, not only with Poch. Well, Morris was only with Poch. And I'm really curious. I would like to ask you, do you think that this camp, if he calls those guys again or starts them again, do you think that the criticism can be warranted and people can, because a lot of people were sugarcoating last camp. I know it was his first camp and everything, but do you think that the criticism is perfectly fine if we start criticizing him? And what would be a successful camp in your opinion, besides the wins?
Yeah, I mean, if he does call up those same type of players and continue to start them, I can definitely see where the criticism would come from. I would definitely have some of my own, although I think it is very important to remember that it's a difficult job and it takes a lot of time, and especially just being so reactionary off one camp. Obviously, yes, these guys have gotten a lot of opportunities in the past, but Poch has only had one camp of sample size under him. As far as I'm concerned, everything else that's happened, besides a few really stupid mistakes, i.e. Tim Weah's punching a guy or Serginho Dest getting that stupid red card against Trinidad and Tobago, only extreme moments like that actually matter to me outside of the Poch tenure. Stuff like that we just need to keep an eye on. But I mean, it's only one camp. I expect Poch to stick with mainly the same guys you probably saw from both of the rosters that we predicted. It's going to be pretty much the same as the last camp, plus a few guys who were injured that will come back in, strengthen the squad. I think he's going to want to build with this core group of guys for at least a couple of windows, some competitive games as well. That's important. We haven't had any of those yet with this squad. I think he's going to want to see what he has here, and then maybe into the new year, if it's not working in a couple of camps, he's going to try to mix it up a little bit. But I think it's important to maybe not be too reactionary, at least from his perspective, to necessarily drop half of the team just due to one game worth of poor performances.
Yeah, I'm more on the more drastic side. I don't want to say, hey, calling for these guys' heads or anything, but I think a lot of people with the Poch won't take anything, and that can kind of be brushed over. I mean, look, he basically kept the same guys and gave them a lot of minutes in the second game as well. Substitutions were a little bit erratic as well. So for me in this camp, I want to see, I don't expect him to be a hard man like some people painted him to be. I don't think that's the type of guy that Poch is. But I would like to see him shift around and make the subs a little bit earlier. That's one thing I want to see. I hate this thing where managers wait until the 65th minute to make a sub. And I want us to win emphatically. I think an emphatic win is what we need, not just the result. I think it was a poor camp last time around, so this is what I expect to see. But asking you guys now, the viewers, what do you want to see from this camp? Any names on the roster that you think we'll miss out on and could have gone and look? You gave a shout for Zendejas. That's honestly plausible because at the end of the day, it matters how they play for the USMNT, right? So there's kind of an argument there. Let us know any big misses. Do you think we missed Balogun too much? Would you give Sargent another shot? Let us know in the comments below. We'll do our best to reply to them. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to share, leave a like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.